Greeting viewers. Joining us today is author Deborah Lipp. Deborah is here to talk about the reissue of her classic book, The Way of Four. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you.
Your book, The Way of Four, is celebrating a reissue. Can you give us the back history of this book?
Well, I originally wrote The Way of Four in 2004. And, oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. I've always been obsessed with the four elements. I've always loved how they just sort of permeate Western occultism. You can't study occultism without studying the four elements. Astrology, alchemy, Kabbalah, witchcraft, they're everywhere. So I started when I was a young high priestess, and I was running a Wiccan group, and if I had a bad day and I didn't prepare a lesson plan, I would say, well, let's do a four elements discussion. And it was always so productive and so fascinating, and it was always new every time. So it was on my mind that I could write that.
Can you tell us how this book will be offered? The hardcover is a special edition and will be limited to 125 copies. Following that, the paperback will be released in an unlimited supply.
Yeah, so the special edition is really exciting. So I signed these beautiful book plates, and then those book plates are going to be inserted inside it's a beautiful hardcover. It's going to have like a sort of a felty feeling cover, and there's going to be like a little ribbon inside as a bookmark, and numbered, so you know you're getting a rare book. And then after that, then we have the cover here of the paperback edition, and that'll be everywhere.
When you first penned this book, how did you dig deep to express what these elements are and can be?
Well, I mean, part of it was like the inner work, right? Part of it was, what does it mean to be an earthy person? What does it mean to be an airy person? And that was that inner work. And there's meditations in the book, and there's meditative exercises that you can do. There's quizzes in the book. Listen, back in the day when we used to buy paper magazines, they all had quizzes, and you would flip to the quiz because it's the funnest part. And now people do it online with like BuzzFeed. You know, what Hogwarts house are you? What character from the Avengers are you? What this are, you know? So I love quizzes. So I developed quizzes about elemental things. I felt like if elements permeate everything, then they permeate everything in our lives, right? So there's meditation, and there's personality work, and there's inner work. There's also nature work, a lot of work in nature, and a lot of exercises that you can do in nature. But there's also, I really like occultism to be ordinary, that it just is. So like I can look at you, and I can look at your necklace and your shirt and your makeup, and I can think, this is a fiery person. You know, because of your color choices and because of your flair. Those are fiery qualities. You know, it affects how you dress, how you decorate your home, how you conduct your relationships. So it's everywhere. So I wanted to dig deep into the inner stuff, but I also really wanted to celebrate the surface of it.
And following off of that question, this book delves into the world of elements in it. You talk about swords and wands and their corresponding elements. But let's talk about the much debatable air equals wands or fire, etc.
Well, you know, that's one of the updates to the book. Because I did more research into it, and I learned new things into it, and it's just a fascinating subject, because this whole debate about our swords fire or air, are wands fire or air, it turns out that some of this debate was sort of faked. When I was trained in Wicca, everybody knew that it was a blind, right? That Arthur Edward Waite, when he created his tarot deck, he made the swords airy and the wands fiery. Everybody knew back in the day that that was a blind, that he had done that to keep his oath of secrecy in the Golden Dawn, and that he had switched the actual Golden Dawn attributions. Well, it turned out that the source of that story about weight was Francis King. And as far as I can tell, and I have done a lot of research into this, I'm not a perfect researcher, but I could be wrong, but as far as I have been able to discover, Francis King just made that up. That he thought swords equals fire made more sense, and he switched it, and he claimed that weight switched it. So in my first edition of The Way of Four, I said, this is what happened, and this is the story, and weight switched them. And since then, you know, the updated edition has all the research that I did, and footnotes, and all the updated information on how that switch was sort of lied about. I think that it's legit to look at a sword and go, that thing is fiery. Mm-hmm. And if you want to continue to use that in your attributions, you know, that's fine. But let's not tell lies about history.
Right.
I really believe in balance, right? I believe in being balanced in the elements. I believe that most occult paths are teaching us, and most spiritual paths are teaching us to be balanced. You know, I'm not, like, don't be ascetic, but don't be indulgent, right? In Wicca, we say, let there be mirth and reverence, honor and humility. We like to balance things. So one way you balance is in the elements. And when somebody is having a problem with an element, most of us, we're not born perfectly balanced, so we have to work at it. You know, so if you're a very ungrounded person, doing an earth exercise can help ground you. And even if you haven't identified, like, as a character flaw, you still can benefit from getting to know each of the four elements. But I also, I don't want people to, I want people to love their elemental nature. If you're a fiery person and your temper gets you in trouble because you have too much fire, you don't have too much fire. Your fire is fine. You just need to bring those other elements up. Trying to, you know, eliminate what you are isn't a healthy practice.
No.
Instead, try to empower what you are with more.
Other favorite exercises are the fire gazing and walking in the rain. Both of these are so simple yet powerful. And acts of bonding or getting to know the elements. How did these come to you or inspire you to include them in the book?
Well, I did most of the exercises myself and worked with them and practiced them myself. And you know, some of it just came about in 1987. My late husband and I were touring around the country, and we went to all of these amazing places. And we went to the Grand Canyon, and we went to Yosemite, and we went inside one of those giant trees, one of those giant sequoias in Yosemite, where you know, where you can sort of sit in there and have a little picnic. We were going to fool around in there, but other people came. You know, natural wonders sort of inspire that in me. I am very earthy, and I was just struck. Oh, and we went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. It's the earthiest place in the world, right? You're deep in the earth. And you're in the Grand Canyon. It's the airiest place that you can imagine. We went to Niagara Falls. We went to all of these incredible elemental natural wonders. And you're experiencing the elements in a way that is just stunning and amazing. And not everybody is going to spend a summer touring the United States, but I wanted to make that beautiful, sort of visceral, natural experience available.
Are there any upcoming projects you're working on that you would like to share with us?
Oh my God, this has been the craziest year. I have 4 books this year.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of books.
I know, and if you are thinking of writing 4 books in a year, don't. I do not recommend. With Cross Crow Publishing, they're wonderful, and they brought not only this book back into print, but also my next new book will be The Magic of the Elements. Now, this was originally published under a different title. It was originally The Way of Four spell book, which was a stupid name because it's not really a spell book. I got inspired while I was writing The Way of Four to just focus on the magical side. What's all the spell work you can do. So the spells that are in the book, they're meant as lessons, they're meant as examples. Like, what are fire spells? Well, candle magic is a fire spell. Here's a candle spell. Sex magic is a fire spell. Cooking magic is earth. There's a baking spell, you know, and there's a planting spell also for earth. But the idea of the spells is not, you know, you can't come up with your own spells, because more experienced occultists don't even like to buy spell books. They like to write their own spells.
We do our own.
Yeah. Right. February just came out, is Bending the Binary, Polarity Magic in a Non-Binary World. That's a brand new book, and it is, the subtitle kind of says it all. It's about those of us who want to continue to work with polarity as an important occult energy, but maybe feel stopped from doing that because polarity has been taught as a heteronormative, cisnormative, non-inclusive energy. So Bending the Binary is a book I'm very proud of, because we're all about that. My historical research backs this up. That's just not true. It can be very inclusive and very queer. Every now and then I meet somebody who says, I love your book, and I get very sarcastic and say, which one? And it's always elements of ritual. If somebody has only read one of my books, they've read Elements of Ritual, because that book has made a really, really big difference for people who are Wiccan or who practice other forms of pagan ritual, because it really was very much the first book that walked you through how, why, and you know what's involved in ritual step by step in this very detailed, sort of drilled down manner. When I was writing one of these other 3 books, I noticed that it was published exactly 20 years ago. Oh. So I reached out to Llewellyn and I said, what about an anniversary edition? So I believe that'll be out around the end of this year.
The Way of Four is now available at Crossed Crow Books and at all fine booksellers. We wish to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Until next time, thank you for watching Oculus Alchemy.